Hello. Good to be here today, but if I sound a little off, I had a physical therapy session today and it was quite painful. So if I'm a little out of it, uh, put up with me. Today's topic is critical to our understanding so much about everything that goes on around us and the reason that we're all here. There's no one looking in here, to my knowledge, who is not here who doesn't wish to weigh less. And we recognize that weighing less is a huge emotional and psychological journey. So, the first thing that I'd like to point out to you, and stop and think for a minute. You have never seen an adult having fun and not behaving as though they were a child. Every single time you ever have seen an adult or yourself as an adult, never have you ever seen an adult having fun not behaving as though they were a child. Adults do not have a capacity for fun. And this is where I would like to focus us in today and why self parenting is so critically important. Now, remember what I just said. Every single adult that you've ever seen who was having fun was behaving as though they were a child. What does that tell you? There's the you, the adult self, and there is the child self. And if we ignore the child self, we have a huge problem. Now, let's understand something critically important. Children know very little about life. Children want what they want when they want it. They want it because they want it. And because they want it, that's their goal, regardless of what the reality dictates at any particular moment. Number two, let's understand that children, and when we were a child, it was the same thing. Children, I'm not going to be answering that, so let's just let it go. Children are at the most vulnerable period of life. And these are things that we need to understand because in the process of understanding, we're going to make progress in our journey. And here we go. Now, remember what I said. Now, think about this. Children need to feel safe. A child who feels unsafe is going to behave in a manner to try to move towards being safe. Children, and if you remember A long time ago, I noted the study of the miasmic children in Europe, in England. Children who don't feel loved don't prosper. And if you remember the story, this cleaning woman went into the nursery of one of the rooms in the hospital and was playing with these babies. All the other children in all the rooms, they were growing, but not well. But the children with whom the maid was picking up and holding prospered. Feeling loved is critically important. Now, think about this. You're taking a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old in the car. They're buckled up, and you go to the park. You park. You go around. You open the door. You take the child's hand, you lock the door, and you start to walk. There are cars, there are traffic because you're not in the park yet. And you are holding the child's hand because you want it to be safe. And the child sees something and says, "Let go." Are you going to let go? No. And the child says, "Let go," and is now pulling on your hand. But you're not letting go. And now the child is screaming, "You never let me do anything. You always stop me." And this is going on, and the child is emotionally screaming and out of control. Are you going to let the hand go? That's where we are today, and that's what I want us to look at. The child within us is a child. And children have very little experience with life. That child within you has experienced everything that you've experienced, but as a child. So it wants what it wants when it wants it. It wants it because it wants it. It doesn't have any particular thought process in which to connect it with. And when it comes to food, and we've talked about that very, very often, there is nothing more powerful than the comfort that people get from food, because remember where we started. Within the first few hours of your life, food in the process of either a breast or a bottle was stuck in your mouth. You were comforted and you fell asleep. That power is never going to change. It lies within you. But that doesn't mean anything as far as our success in the journey that we're going to take, because of the fact that if you acknowledge the child, you as the adult, now remember where we were just a few moments ago. You have never seen an adult having fun and not acting as though they were a child. You know the rules. And let's focus on that and recognize that acknowledging the child and setting the rules is critically important. What the rules are, how we set them, when we set them, what they mean. Incident happened today. I was discussing it with my daughter Barbara. Many of you may know that my granddaughter, who's 11 years old, was here with father in Florida. And because it was holiday and because grandma was here as well, the rules were kind of bent a little. And treats between my wife and my granddaughter, and they love each other, were bent. My granddaughter is now back home. And I was discussing with my daughter, and she said, we were making dinner, and my daughter, my granddaughter, wanted a treat. And I said, meaning my daughter said, hey, we're going to have dinner in a minute. No treats until we see what it is, and I want you to spoil your appetite. But I want a treat. Grandma would give me treats. Yes, she wanted a treat. And my daughter said, how about I'll give you a cucumber? I want a treat. I'll give you a cucumber. I want a treat. I'll give you a cucumber. And she finally gave in and accepted the cucumber. Under normal circumstances, because one of the rules my daughter has established with my granddaughter is dinner and treats are treats. And so she'll come in. And by the way, my granddaughter loves cucumbers. And she'll say, Mommy, can I have a cucumber? This circumstance was different. And so the lay of the land has a lot to do with what goes on and the role that the adult plays and the role that the child plays need to be acknowledged by you. What do I mean by that? You are the adult. We already have gone over the fact that within you, remember, you've never seen an adult having fun and not behaving as a child, so that child has to be within you as well. And the issue of controlling that child is what's important. Now, there are places where there are rules, and there are places there are rules. Outside, any place else in the house, no writing on walls, no cutting things, no throwing things around, no biting, no kicking, all understandable. Let's go into the kitchen. The level of rules rises tremendously. You got a stove, you got an oven, you got knives, you got all kinds of dangerous things there, and you can't fool around. There's got to be rules. So what do? The child is helping you in the kitchen and going out of control the way in which it's cutting. And let's just stick with that. You say no. You know the child is not going to listen to you because it wants what it wants when it wants it. and you recognize the danger involved. What would I suggest? Pick the child up and take the child out of the kitchen. The child will resist, and your answer is, you cannot be in the kitchen and be out of control. You must follow the rules. Now, because that danger is so blatant, you think about it, and what I just suggested isn't foreign to you at all. It's foreign to the child, but you also know that if every single time that child misbehaves in the kitchen and you pick it up and take it out, it's going to learn that it can't be in the kitchen and out of control. No argument, no discussion. So if the child wants to be in the kitchen, you're going to let it. Now, how does that apply? Every single one of you is here because wanting to weigh less is important. And in order to weigh less, we have to have rules. And the child doesn't have the experience that you have. But the child has behaviors and methodologies that impact on you. And how you acknowledge them and remember them is important. Now, let's be careful about something here. We're not talking about psychotherapy. We're talking about rules and following them, and recognize that when we follow the rules, the goal that you set can be achieved. If you don't follow the rules, what's the odds of you? Now, I was talking, and I've written down so that I'll remember. I was talking with a gal by the name of Alice this morning. And Alice has been having a difficult time with the program. Because when Alice was a child, the issue of weight and scales was a big one. And the way it was handled, and the dynamics are not important, were not positive. Now here Alice comes into the office and she says, Dr. Schwartz, I want to weigh less. And I say, okay, let's go. She says, I have a problem. And I said, what's your problem? She says, I don't want to get on a scale. Scales upset me, they frighten me, they concern me, and I can't get on a scale. And I say, well, I need you to get on the scale. And the only thing that we need to do is get on the scale backwards. I'll check it out. And she said, I can't get on the scale. Now, here is this woman between a rock and a hard place. The child within her is dominating because the emotions that the child is experiencing are the same emotions which Alice is not comfortable with. Yes, we had a solution. I convinced her just for one time to get on the scale, and I put down the number. Now, the only thing I ask her to do, because I don't need the numbers anymore, is when she comes in, she gets on the scale, and I tell her the same, or you've lost 2 pounds. And since she's gone on remote, she has a scale. It talks to you. I've never seen an instrument like that. And when you get on the scale after the first time, it says -2 +2. Now, it doesn't, she's blocked off the picture window, and so she can get on the scale because the scale is not going to tell her what she weighs. And all I need to know, and all you need to know, is, am I moving in the right direction? The key here is to understand. You are the adult. This is your life. That child is very necessary because your life would be really very bland without that child living in with you. Imagine having a part of your personality taken away so that the word fun no longer exists. How we deal with it becomes important. And now I'm going to tell you about Doris. Now, Doris is a very interesting woman. She did the program X number of years ago and lost a tremendous amount of weight. She came back having put back most of the weight because of the fact that she did not do stage 2, stage 3, phase 2, phase 3, stabilization and maintenance. And because her behavior was such, and she will tell you, I hear these voices in my head. I know because you've taught me, Dr. Schwartz, it's a child talking to me. And as a child, I was always sneaking because I love these snacks. They make me feel good. I don't think when I put them in my mouth. And here I am trying to do the program, and that voice is bothering me and bothering me and bothering me. Until I realized what you had said. And what I do, and here's an interesting one, she says to the child, I know you want something, and I know what it is you want. And I know that if I give in to you and give you what you want, you're going to feel good. And the truth is, I'm probably going to feel good too because I like those things. But then I'm going to feel guilt and remorse. Because even though I want those things, it's not what I really want. I like looking at myself in clothes and feeling good in those clothes. And what we've had is a tremendous change. She figured it out for herself. Instead of taking the kid up and out of the kitchen, what she's done is say to the child, I'm giving you a Dr. John's lollipop because you want something. It's sweet, so it's like a snack. However, I'm going to feel good about it. And since you and I are part of the same being, get used to it because it's going to make me happy. And when I'm happy, you're going to be happy. Bottom line, I promise you, she's lost about 40 pounds since she started changing her behavior towards her child self. I've got another one, and this one I really like. Her name is Ella. Ella is the vice president of a management company. Weight has always been her problem. And here she is in a managerial position. And when she came to me, she said, Dr. Schwartz, I have a problem. I have a huge staff. I'm constantly hiring new people. And what I've found is I've been hiring the wrong people. And we discussed it. And one of the things she was able to identify is that almost everyone that she hired behaved in a childish manner during the interview. And that intrigued her because they were competent as far as their abilities were concerned, but their behavior intrigued her because it excited her that someone could act that way. And every time she hired someone who had this frivolous part of their personality, it didn't end well as far as the job is concerned. Now, she's got the same problem with food. Only this time, she has stopped, recognized the frivolity that's going on from the child within her. I want what I want when I want it. And guess what? It's only a month. She has quite a bit of weight yet to go. But it's working because she is actually having conversations with her child self and telling the child self that she loves the child self because the child doesn't look at the world as seriously as she does. and that makes her feel good. But the child is making everything else vulnerable, and so therefore she sticks to the focus. Now, these kinds of things are really important. And I want to talk about a question that came in this week. And let me read it to you. I was doing great until Easter. Ever since I started out each day saying, today's the day I'm going to restart, and I'm good for most of the day. Then when I start making dinner for my family, I give in and I eat with them. I was doing so well before, I'm feeling very frustrated that I can't now. Help! Tell me, that's not a classic example of the child within her giving in on Easter and she not saying to the child, hold it. What's going on here? The child broke loose. She's doing her thing. And the whole process is undermining everything that makes her feel good. And here's what's important. Until we had the discussion, and that's what this is all about, she would not, could not, did not acknowledge that the child was real. The child lived within her. The child wanted what it wanted when it wanted it because of whatever her childhood experiences were. And she was not controlling the child. By ignoring it, by making believe it didn't exist. And it was not until she actually said, it is my child self. By the way, one of the activities that I've shared with people over the years, go into the bathroom or any other place and sit down with a mirror. Look into the mirror. What you'll see is you. But it's not you, it's the reflection of you. And most people, after some minor kinds of visions, begin to become critical. I could do this and that and whatever. Did you ever stop? Now remember, that's your reflection. It's part of you. It's your other self, of having a discussion with that part of you and saying, hey, this is going to be happening this evening. We've done this before and this is what's happened. I've been unhappy. I don't know about you because I've never had this discussion with you. But if I have this discussion with you and now I realize, let's plan for tomorrow night when a similar situation is going to occur. What I'm saying here is, if we acknowledge the truth about ourselves, I said to you last week, you do not have to justify your behavior. If you say, I want to lose weight, you have every right to say it. It's your life. You're the boss. That doesn't mean there are issues there involved. But once you begin to accept your own worth, and this is what self-parenting is all about, that child is me, inside me. It doesn't know very much because children don't have an experience with life. They only have experiences. And they learn from those experiences. And depending upon what the experiences are, good things or bad things. I told you, remember last week about, and I still have that guilt today. I don't let it control me. But my mother putting food on the table just before World War II, I didn't like the food. I pushed it away. And my mother said to me, children in Europe are starving and you're not getting up from the table until you finish. Guilt, shame. Now, come on, you know as well as I, whether I ate that food or didn't eat that food, if there were children in Europe who were starving, they were going to continue to starve. And if I ate the food, they were still going to starve, not because I ate their food, because I ate the food. And even today, I control it because I acknowledge it and I recognize it. But even today, I'm not finished. I'm going to dispose of it, but I feel guilty. I control it. I acknowledge what it is. I put it in the trash. But the feeling of guilt is there. But I'm not going to judge myself for it any longer. I understand it. And I am the adult, and I no longer have to justify. I don't want it. I'm putting it away. The day that we begin to have to justify, we change our value of ourself. And you've heard me say many times before, you are the most important person in your life. That child is part of the person in your life. That child deserves to be treated with love. And you're capable of treating that child with love. Because when you discipline that child in a loving and healthy way, who are you disciplining? Yourself. And you ever notice, depending upon the situation and circumstances, how much more comfortable it is to know what the rules are? Because there's a feeling of comfort and safety and all of that. These are the kinds of things that we are all about. And this self-parenting is important because you are both the self and the parent. All of it is you. And you have life experience that tells you something that the child self can't handle by itself because it wants what it wants when it wants it. And that's the bottom line. Now, one of the things, and this is very important, you've heard me time and time again say that one of the most wonderful programs that I like to emulate is Alcoholics Anonymous. Number one, they admit they have a problem. Are you overweight? Well, now the moment you begin to vacillate, you know the truth. Do you have a problem with your weight for you? If the answer is yes, you have a problem. And if you don't acknowledge the problem, what's going to happen to you? You're going to pay for it on one level or another. That's what these podcasts are all about, to ask questions, to acknowledge who we are, to recognize that whatever higher power there is within this universe, we interact with it, but it doesn't control us. It helps teach us. And that is what we are here all about. Questions? I'm planning to use plant-based milk with my program now. What is CLA? Why do I need it? Will I still lose weight if I don't take it? And I hate taking pills. Okay. Now, when the program originally was developed, Dr. Chu, and remember this program was invented in China. The Chinese used pig's milk. So that in itself was a problem, and that's how we got to regular milk. Because even if you could get pig's milk here, we weren't going to use it. There are people now who have issues with milk. They're allowed to have those issues. CLA is something called conjugated linoleic acid. Conjugated linoleic acid facilitates the body's ability to handle the milk in its digestive process. With this woman, it's very simple. Take the pill, open it up, put it in the liquid, and drink it down. Your weight loss will be impacted in a positive kind of way, and you will be facilitating the chemistry of the program. If you don't use it, remember, we're only taking in maybe 500 calories a day, so there's going to be a weight loss. But we're also going to cannibalize the body because the body is going to go into starvation mode. Next question. And I hope that was a meaningful answer. I took a few days off during the holidays. I ate sensibly, but I still gained 4 pounds. How long will it take to lose the weight? I gained 4 pounds eating for 3 days. How will I maintain when I'm eating every day? Again, here is the child self. Now, let's start from the beginning. You committed to acknowledging the fact that if you continue to eat the way you've been eating, you wouldn't be sitting here today having this discussion with me. The moment you said, I choose to weigh less, you committed to changing your behavior. There's the child saying, well, it was vacation and I did what I did. And I gained 4 pounds. And now I'm looking to the future, and the future is saying to me, hey, I can't go on vacation anymore. I can't do this, I can't do that because I'm going to gain weight. Now, that's what the child self classically was saying to this person. You committed to change. Now, Once you commit to change and accept change, and here is what's important. Do we know what's going to work for you? No. Do we have a lifestyle that works for you? No. What have we done to give you what you say you really want? And the first thing you have to say is, I can't continue to behave the way in which I've always behaved. I can't also give in to that child. And let's move away the exception. I can't continue to give in to that child because it's not going to work for me. And this is going to be my problem forever. And that's what phase 2 and phase 3 of the program is all about, creating a lifestyle. The other day, I was speaking to someone who had just finished the program and was going on to phase 2. And I said, let's talk about where we go from here. And they said, just tell me what to do. So I said, all right. And I took a piece of paper like this, and I said, if you follow this, you will never, ever again have a problem with weight. And they said, really? And I said, absolutely. I promise you, if you follow everything that's on this sheet, you'll never have a problem with food again. Are there any restrictions? I said, I'm not sure what you mean by restrictions, but it's a sensible program. You certainly could live with it. There are no prohibited foods on it. And they said, okay, give it to me. And I said, okay. But first, let me ask you a question. You've done it for a week, and you call me up or you come in for your consultation, and you get on the scale, and you've maintained your weight. Terrific. Now, week 2, you've come into the office, you've gotten on the scale, and it's worked for a month. How long before you get up in the morning and say, why am I living my life the way Dr. Schwartz wants me to live my life? And you take the paper and you throw it out the window. You can maintain your weight by doing what I tell you, but that's not you. You have to create a lifestyle that works for you. And that's what our interaction in phase 2 and phase 3 is all about. And here is something, and I promise you, it's true. My granddaughter will come into the kitchen and say, Mom, before dinner, can I have some cucumber? It's a habit that she's formed. And remember, a lot of those issues are boredom. Sitting there, nothing to do. I'm hungry. How about I'd love to do that. And the hunger is gone. These are the kinds of issues that we have to work on together. And that's what this sharing is all about. Is it okay to use salt? Yes. I, however, very, very, very strongly recommend that you use either Himalayan crystal salt or Celtic sea salt. The reason, the white table salt that you use is industrial salt. This is the leftover. It's been cleansed. All of the minerals that are in healthy salt have been wiped out. Those are the kinds of things, the white salt, that cause problems with retaining water, with high blood pressure, etc. So therefore, if you want to use salt, use the Himalayan pink crystal salt or real Celtic sea salt. Can I use fresh ginger in my tea? Ginger is a wonderful spice. The answer is go for it. It's just like the woman who said to me, I don't like water, but if I put in a little lemon or lime juice, I love it and I drink my water. And what do I say? On a vegetable day, squeeze in some fresh lemon or lime. On a milk day, either use the real lemon, real lime, or one of those flavored kinds of lemon or lime products. Questions, interactions, parenting. That child in you is critical for you to be able to enjoy your life. Start parenting that child in a loving manner. The more you love that child, not give in to that child. You show me children, especially teenagers, where you haven't set the limits, and watch the anxiety that grows within them because they don't know where the walls are, what's right or what's wrong. Children want boundaries. It keeps them safe. That child is you. It lives within you. All of the fun in life is because of that child. And if you love it, and it feels loved, our journey is going to be so much more delicious. Thank you for listening. And you've heard me before. Questions, questions, questions. Don't wait. Email me, call me on the phone, follow through on your consultations. Ask me for topics here. Take care, and I'll be back with you soon.